Well, hi everybody, it's Politics as usual. And with me today, I'm delighted to have Kate Campanale, who's with us. And she is from Leicester and part of Worcester.
Yes, correct. The 17th Worcester District.
Oh, yeah, they all have names.
Exactly.
They all have names.
No one knows the numbers.
Yeah, and you know something else? I don't think they really care.
No, I don't either.
But anyway,
Right.
But basically Leicester and a little chunk of Worcester.
Exactly, the southwest part of Worcester, so Webster Square area, up by the airport, and then I go down into Maine South, Clark University.
So you have the airport?
I do, yes. Well, actually, it's split right down the runway.
Well, that's good.
At the district, so
good.
it's pretty.
That's great. Well, listen, now you just finished your first term.
Yes.
Now,
yes,
did you have any fun?
I did. I love the job.
Really?
Yes. But, oh my, I can't believe 2 years has gone by so quick.
Well, but I mean, for somebody like yourself who's gone in, you know, one of the things that I always like to talk about is I'm sure there were things that you said, okay, now I'm going to be a rep. I got elected. And oh boy, it'll be this, it'll be this, it'll be this.
Oh, sure.
And then you get there, and it's not that, not that, and not that.
No.
So so tell me, were you surprised by anything?
I was. You know, I think the first thing you learn is when you start your campaign, you're running on all of these big issues that you're going to change the whole course and direction of the state. And then you get in, and you learn over time and over your first term that it's the little things that matter. You know, it's the constituent services, it's getting a crosswalk, it's getting a school bus sign, it's getting a traffic light. And these are little things, but they impact the community in such a big way.
Well, you know, I always, in my experience in politics, they may be little things if you look at it in the broad picture of the state budget.
Yes.
They may be a little thing as far as the House of Representatives or the state Senate is concerned. But to Charlie's citizen, that's huge.
Exactly.
Huge. And I remember when I was involved, we used to have people would if I traveled with the governor, he'd send them to me because he'd be shaking hands and so forth. And then someone would ask for something, and I would write it down. And I found out that it would take maybe 3 months or 2 months before someone would get back to them. And so I started the thing where we had little postcards. And when we would be on a field trip, and I used to call them, I'd go back with a list of names and numbers, and we would send a little postcard back signed by the governor. They'd get it 2 days later. And it made a huge difference.
It did.
Because the citizen would say, wow, they got back to me and they're going to do something about this.
Yes.
And it might end up going with a secretary. It might end up going to another department. But it didn't matter. And then they had time to get back to that constituent.
Certainly.
But my point is, to like little Charlie citizen, that request to Representative Campanale is huge for him.
Yes, right.
You know?
And sometimes it is. It's just helping someone navigate the system.
Yeah.
And, get through some of that red tape.
I just had a friend of mine and tell me the other day that now the unemployment office that used to be in Southbury, they closed them all.
Yes.
Now the only one that's open is in Boston. If you want to walk in, you have to go to Staniford Street in Boston.
Yes.
Everything else is now either online or on the phone.
Right.
This person said trying to navigate the online system is absolutely a nightmare. She started the call, but you have certain days, depending on your where you are. You can call Monday for this, Tuesday, or whatever it is. And when you call, there's a 45-minute wait. Because they don't want you to call. They really don't want to talk to you.
Right.
They want you back online.
Right. And then, they get someone and they're rerouted to someone else.
To somebody else.
It's just frustrating for someone. Sure.
And so they jump up and down.
Right.
And then that's the things that you get hit with.
Exactly.
And,
yes.
And you can't walk over and say, hey, my constituent called you and you didn't answer them. And I think sometimes people honestly expect more of their representative or senator than they can possibly do for them.
Right.
But again, in your case, so you're in your first year, and you're going to change all these things, and then you realize that one of the biggest things is constituents need whatever they need.
Yes, exactly.
And now, you must have served on committees.
I do. As a freshman, I'm pretty proud of my first year. I'm on Ways and Means, and
heavy hitter.
Yes.
A heavy hitter.
Exactly.
You're on the money trail.
Yes, I am. It's a big responsibility, but
Who did you know?
I'm just really proud that
Campanale and DeLeo. I just figured it out. Go ahead.
Right.
So you want to
No,
Ways and Means?
yes, I am.
That was
and
an experience.
it was, especially coming in. I'm a month into the job, and all of a sudden, Ways and Means hearings are starting, and you're going across the state, and you're hearing from everyone, from agencies, from different interest groups to municipalities about all their programs and what resources they need from the state. And for me, it was learning about this, and everyone wants a slice of the pie, or at least a little sliver.
Don't forget
me. Right. So it was an experience having that responsibility, how to prioritize people's needs, especially with a strict budget.
Thing is, and then you get these organizations that, I mean, for instance, like in Southbridge, we have the Center of Hope.
Yes.
And those ARC places.
Exactly.
And they desperately need the help. And they go in and they're begging for help.
Right.
And yet there's only so many dollars, there's only so much that can be stretched.
Absolutely.
And so there you are. But it was a great experience.
It was. And proud to come in when I did with the new administration and be able to increase local aid and not increase taxes and fees, and very proud to work with the committee and the administration on that. And I say that's a big accomplishment for me as a freshman.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, listen, sitting on Ways and Means, that's a coup. And that speaks well not only to yourself, but offers a great deal of help for the community of Leicester and those sections of Worcester that you serve, because you can protect them.
Yes, exactly. You find that your line when you come into the office, though, is a lot longer than other reps, the people that want to talk to you.
Well, I'm sure.
So,
I mean, the lobbyists.
Yes, exactly.
And the don't forget me.
Yes. Yes.
And so it can be challenging in that respect.
Right.
Right. But you get a lot of attention.
Yes. That's true.
They don't forget you. So
no.
That's good. So now let's talk about that first year.
Sure.
What, anything disappoint you?
Disappointing. No. I think the biggest challenge really is more of a personal challenge, and that's when I was elected. The people elected me for partly because of who I am, and they know me. I was their neighbor. I played Little League with their kids. They had me in school. They know my parents from different groups. And now that I'm elected, people look at me differently.
So
but
I still... Teacher?
I did work in the school for a bit. Yes, in the middle school. My mom works at the Leicester Middle School, and my sister was at the high school. Okay. But, being in office now, people hold you to a different standard, and they look at you differently. Where,
yes, they do.
To me, I'm still Kate.
Yeah.
I'm still the girl from town, and
no, but it does. It carries with it.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously there's a status.
Sure.
And then there's always the demand that you have to live up to that status.
Yes, exactly.
And it's nice to be Kate from town.
Right.
But you're really representative.
No. Exactly, and that's for as state representative, your time is not your own.
Oh, no.
And days of the week lose their meaning, and even just going to the grocery store, you're running into constituents.
You certainly remember Senator Brewer, and Steve and I go way back. I knew him when he was Senator Wetmore's aide, and the interesting thing is, I know when Senator Moore was there, when they used to tease each other, he would say, Senator Brewer would attend the opening of an envelope, and that's what the job was. And Senator Brewer made a living. He tried not to miss anything.
Right.
But there comes a time when you can't physically. I mean, the demands on you still have a job to do.
Oh, sure.
But the demands of, can you go to this? Can you be here? Can you come to this? Can you be for that?
Right.
And you have to try to balance all that.
Exactly. So balancing that, and then you have one aide that's in the office, as you had mentioned before. When you're out in public, that's when you're available to your constituents, and they're coming up to you with concerns and ideas. So you're calling back to the office and, giving them more work
Well,
to do.
not only that, but even a simple thing like going out.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one time when I was involved was Governor Dukakis, Registrar Mackey, and Secretary Barry. We were all worked together, buddies. And we were going to go out one Friday night. We were going to go to Maliab's, which is in downtown Boston.
Okay.
Great little Italian restaurant.
Okay.
And so I had to call up and make a reservation and get a table as far back and out of the way as we could get, And was there a door we could come in that wasn't the front door?
Oh.
Because if you went anywhere, and they realized who was there, you'd have people all want to talk.
Sure.
Can you do this? Can you get me? So you could never really enjoy yourself sometimes.
Exactly.
And that's the demand. And to those people who want to talk to you, that's very important.
It is.
So it's you're just trying to have a nice quiet evening, and you really don't want to be, but at the same time you got to talk to them.
Okay. Exactly. Right.
So
it's one of the things I love about the job too. Yeah. But
was there any bills that you worked on and you or any bills that you struggled with? You got to make decisions.
Exactly. Oh, and that was a challenge too. You're always trying to vote your district, vote your conscience, and know what you're voting on. That's always been very important to me. I'd say one thing I'm proud of that I've worked on, the one bill that I really started, is a student loan bill, which acts as a 401k plan, but for student loans, as a benefit for companies. Wow. Yes, and I'm very proud of the work I did there. Reaching out to different companies and students themselves. So I have student loan debt. I know the struggles there, and struggles that they're keeping from starting a family and buying houses, and this is a real problem for our economy. Yeah. So my bill, actually, it is an incentive program for businesses that acts like a retirement plan. Say you were an employer, you could offer your employees a direct payment to their student loan. Say I'm paying $300 a month in student loans, you could match that or give a portion of it. Right. And myself and you as the employer would get a tax credit.
Oh, no, that's great, because I know my youngest daughter graduated from Emmanuel in 2002. Okay. And she still has a student loan. Oh, yes. And I mean, Daddy made a deal that if she graduated, I'd pay 1/3 of her student loan. Yeah. And I had a plan when she was born, so a lot of her college was covered. Right. But those student loans, because her mother and I paid 2/3, and she paid 1/3. Well, I told her if she graduates, I'd pick up 1/3 of her third. Okay. So every month I have to send her a check. I see. But yet she's still paying. And this thing goes on, I think, I don't know when it ends, 2020 or maybe, it was like 17 or 18 years, she has a great job. She happens to sell beer. Okay. So she has a great job. Yeah. But anyway, the thing is that, and she does very well. But the point is, every month she has to make that payment, Right. And I know because I send her my part of it. And I'm saying to myself, wait a minute, there's got to be a way, with the interest rates as low as they are, you'd think there'd be some kind of they could really redo these things. But a lot of them don't. So it was a great idea. Exactly. And
it's a way that helps incentivize people to pay their student loans without forgiving the debt. Because that's the problem. We're going to come with a whole student loan bubble is going to burst, just like the mortgage industry.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it will.
And so this is just a solution, I think, that will help the problem.
Well, I think we had, was it Senator Sanders wanted to give everybody a free college education. Exactly. Only trouble is, someone's got to pay for that.
Exactly. Nothing's free.
Nothing is free. No, and it isn't, and it's not free. So now let's talk about you mentioned making decisions on and studying these bills. Sure. Let's talk about July 29th, 30th, and 31st.
Oh boy.
when you were there for 24 hours around the clock.
Yes, exactly.
And they were firing legislation at you.
Right.
as fast as you could get them.
Yes.
Literally.
Literally.
And you get them 2 minutes before you have to vote on them.
Exactly. That was. It's fun at the same time demanding, because we have, as one of the things as Republicans, we are well prepared with our budgets and line item vetoes. So, and we have an analysis of every line item. So when it shows up on the screen what we're voting for, you can see other Republicans were flipping through our books trying to find the line item and trying to make a decision quickly before those 2 minutes are up. And those are, and that's where it comes into play. Being a Republican, you can be more independent,
right,
and vote for your district. Where
but
Democrats
is there a way? Is there a way
mm-hmm.
to? I mean, I always take the position. It happens every year.
Right.
All right, every year. When are they going to stop it? When are they going to start knowing that it's coming and start doing these things in June and early July, rather than backing them all up?
Exactly. And we're passing big pieces of legislation that we've been working on for an entire
I just
session.
saw a thing where one of them passed, and they wanted to. There's a part of the bill that the governor is going to veto, but where they want to do a test.
Oh,
on get taxed by your mileage.
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
How?
Exactly.
Listen, let's take the average guy with or gal with an automobile.
Right.
You pay a sales tax when you buy it. Every time you put gasoline in it to drive it, you pay a tax.
Yes.
You pay an excise tax just to have it for the year.
Right.
And then you have to wait in traffic for hours while they're digging up highways. And nobody cares about it, but you look at the money that a driver is taxed. And then tolls on the turnpike. Now they want to tax you for driving your car.
Exactly. And that's something, that
That
was part of a bill that just,
nobody caught.
You would think it got snuck in. We knew it was coming, and we knew the veto would the governor would veto it. But still, you have to pay attention to it.
No, but not only that, but you stop and think about it. That passed.
Yes.
It doesn't matter.
Yep.
Even though everybody knew the governor would veto it, it passed.
Sure.
How does a rep go back to his district and look at any constituent and say, hey, I voted for that.
Right.
And I'm proud of my vote.
Right. And, the same could be said about the Uber bill as well. There's a piece in there that everyone's talking about the safety aspects of the Uber bill, which were great parts of the bill. However, there was this one piece in there where, you're being taxed as a customer 30 cents. Yeah. And now that might seem like a small amount, but that 30 cents is going to a fund to help the taxi companies. So you're essentially paying your competition.
Yeah, you're subsidizing another company.
Right. And how...
Well, but that's the dilemma of, last minute stuffing it through.
Yes, right.
Get it done.
And you're watching the court officers run back and forth, and it's 11:15, 10 to 12, midnight.
Do they cheat?
And they're still running.
Do they cheat?
I don't know.
Do they do anything? Do they do anything on August 1st?
The clock did seem to stop at midnight for a long time.
Oh, it did? Oh, they didn't do anything on August 1st,
No.
Okay.
Not according to their time.
Okay. So you had fun.
I did, yes.
Now, one other thing. A little bird told me that you do something on your own that you've done for the past few years where you go south and you work in a little project.
I do. I think you're referring to my service trip I just took back in May. And I went down to a village in the Dominican Republic, the village of Samana, and I worked with an NGO there at a local school that they helped.
What's an NGO?
Non-governmental organization.
Okay.
Yes. And I worked at a school there for handicapped and children with disabilities. And
so you've done this before. This wasn't the first year.
Yeah, this was the first year actually.
Right.
That I did this specific project, and it was an incredible experience. And
but you've done stuff like this before.
Yes, and especially in the district.
Yeah.
I've been working with kids. When I was working at the middle school, I worked in the special ed
So
department.
how long did you stay down in the Dominican?
I was there for 4 weeks.
Wow.
Actually, and I think that was the time I needed to be effective. It wasn't just going down there to say I went down to volunteer. Right. It actually gave me the time to be involved. And
So you actually work with the kids down there.
I did every day. And, you know, it's such a shame because you see these kids, they're so smart. They just have a handicap, whether it be, you know, braces on their leg or a limp arm, and they're not allowed into the public schools there just because of a handicap, but they're not getting the education that they need either to be productive in the society there.
Yeah.
And most parents keep their kids inside because they're ashamed, and it's just breaking that cultural barrier too. Yeah. And that was part of my effort while I was down there.
Tremendously rewarding.
Very, very rewarding.
Well, you know, I happen to go to St. Joseph's Church here in Charlton. Okay. And every year we have a group of kids, and they go to Haiti. Yeah. And they go down, they spend a week down there, and they work with the kids in an orphanage. Oh. And I have to tell you this story. One of the kids has gone the last 3 or 4 years. And when she went down last year, she met this little 2-year-old kid who was in the orphanage. And they became pals for the week she was there. And 1 year later, she went back again this year, and never dreaming that this kid would ever remember her. And she was all excited just to see if she could find him. And she walked in, and all of a sudden she heard this scream. And this little kid, who's now 3, came running over and threw his arms around her. And she said, you know, her mother was telling me the story, and the tears had been. And she said, my daughter couldn't believe that he remembered her. Right. Well, that's the impact that people have on these kids like yourself when you go down there. The impact is unbelievable. Right. Because somebody was nice to them. Somebody helped them. Sure. Somebody took care of them, you know, and showed them some affection and some attention. Right. And this little 17-year-old kid, this little kid, 3 years old, remembered her. And when he saw her, he went running over to her, you know, and she said, she was telling her mom, she says, it just made my trip. Exactly. You know? Now I can't wait to go back. You know, well, that's what it is. But you know, when you do something like that, you know, it's so important because it gives you some insight. And as a representative, we have people in our Commonwealth. Remember, you're too young, but I remember Munson State Hospital, which was a nightmare back in the 50s and 60s and 70s, where if anybody was disabled, they just stuck them in a state hospital. Sure. You know, and we had Belchertown, and we had these different state facilities, and then they decided to have these organizations to put them in, and they could take these kids. I mean, the place in Southbridge, the Center of Hope, they have a detail shop that does automobiles, and they train these kids, and you ought to see the work they do. Exactly. It is unbelievable the job they do. So. That if somebody takes the time and works with them, it's incredibly rewarding. Where before they were just thrown into a hospital, and and for them too, they just have this better quality of life, and they I mean, I remember picking up my car one time, and the kid that did the seats or the shampoo, whatever he did. And he was waiting. He couldn't. He was so proud. And he kept asking, "Is it good? Do you like your car?" And he was so excited because he had worked on that automobile. And the car, of course, it looks like a brand new car when you go back and get it. Sure. And the kids are so excited. Right. So from your perspective, it gives you, it's another country, but it gives you a feel so that, and especially sitting on Ways and Means. Right. So you have a different perspective. Absolutely. You see the cultural perspective, and in my district too, I represent Maine South, and I go into the schools there. I go to, I frequently go to South High, and you see some of these kids who are first generation come to this country not even knowing English, and now they're fluent in English. They're taking 5 AP classes. Yeah. They have scholarships to full scholarships to some of the best schools. Yeah. And it just gives you an idea of where they come from, and they're the ones that they take the opportunity. They just don't take it for granted. They take the opportunity. Right. They're ambitious. Well, and you touch a good point. Right. I think a lot of times, and my hand is up. I think one of the tragedies of us who were born here and grew up here, we take it for granted. Yes. We're used to it. It just, and then we almost expect it. you know, and I think sometimes we don't really appreciate how good we really have it. You know,
I would
and even
agree.
going to where you go to the Dominican,
Right.
you begin to see how fortunate we are.
Exactly. And
You know?
there's something to be said about the simple life.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
and then you
right.
go to a school like South High, and you see these kids who have really came here and taken every opportunity
Exactly.
and advantage of those opportunities that they once didn't have. You know, and an opportunity for them to succeed in life.
Yes. And they want to stay here, and they want to do good in this community, and that's what we need.
Let's look ahead. You know, now you're getting ready for, you're going to be another term coming up.
Yes.
And you've got a year under your belt, or 2 years actually under your belt.
Yes.
And you're a little wiser and a little smarter now than you were 2 years ago.
Absolutely.
Now you're going to stay on Ways and Means?
I intend to.
Okay, good. Well, that's don't want to give up that one.
Yes, no.
That's a good one.
Absolutely.
But anyway, looking ahead, is there things that you now, with that experience of the 2 years you've had, going back in, is there things now that you want to do differently or better, or other things that you'd like to see done?
You know, there's a lot of work I want to continue doing. You know, I feel like I've just gotten not the hang of it, but you learn the process now, and you understand things just from being there that you don't even realize you're learning, but just from being there, that institutional knowledge, and those are, I want to continue that. You know, projects I've got started, my student loan bill that I want to keep working on, and just be more service to the community.
Right. Well, you know, there's so many things that the demands that are put on it, but in the total scheme of things, biggest business in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts happens to be the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Yes.
We have more employees than anybody else.
Right.
We have the biggest pensions of anybody else. We have more employees than anybody else.
Yes.
We spend more money than any other company.
Yes.
And we take in more money than any other company. Now, see, as I've always said, nobody has ever said we know how to run a government. We've already proven that.
Yes.
We don't know how to run one of those. Now we're going to try to run a business, because that's what we really are.
Right.
So that there's a lot of things that need to be cleaned up. We need to straighten. I mean, look, we got a transportation issue. We got the MBTA.
Right.
All right. Needs a lot of work.
Yes.
But it goes back to years and years and layers and layers and layers of patronage. That's got to be cleaned up.
Sure.
Not easy to do.
No.
Okay. Not easy to do, because you're trying to change situations where, I mean, they have so many sweetheart deals.
Right.
That you got to get rid of them.
Exactly.
How do you do that?
Yes.
You know, and that's the tough
deals,
part.
It's the culture. It's
and then the other challenge is, one of the things that I learned over the years, and I'm sure, you know, Rep. Smoller, Representative Durant, yourself, and any rep or senator that's ever served in this area has also learned. People think the Commonwealth of Massachusetts ends at Route 495. There's nothing else beyond that but trees. Only trees. Billy Belcher told me one time, all you got out there is trees.
We're Western Mass.
Yeah, you got out there is trees.
Right.
And the tragedy is that they can outvote you.
Yes.
You know, you don't have enough out here to offset, so they can, that Boston gang, and I call them the Boston gang, controls a lot of the traveling and a lot of the flow in the House and the Senate.
Sure.
You know, and so it's a challenge for representatives in this area.
Yes. And, you know, I see Worcester County coming together more, especially over the past few years. And I think we do have a stronger presence, especially with the Lieutenant Governor coming from Worcester as well. She's made this a priority.
Well,
and,
she's great.
Right.
Karen's a great lady.
Yes.
She and I have chatted numerous times, and I know she's, and it makes it easier for you folks.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, it gives you a chance too. So.
Right. To have the governor's number and being able to have him take your
hey,
call.
Hey, Gov,
exactly.
I need you. You know?
Right.
That's
and
great.
To get something done. Sure.
Well, Kate, it's been delightful. I want to thank you very much for stopping by.
Thank you.
And I'd love to have you come back again and talk again. You're in a campaign, so you're running for re-election.
Yes, I am.
And so you got that to do, but that'll keep you busy.
Oh, very busy.
You know, and keep you out there busy and chatting with folks and reaching out, and that's great. because that's good experience too.
Absolutely.
But once again, thanks a bunch for coming.
Thank you.
And we'll have you back again.
I'd love to.
There you have it, folks. Another politics as usual.